New commitment for Notre Dame this week, Mr. Hyde, was RJ Oben from Duke. Notre Dame double dipping at the school in Durham, North Carolina. Of course, landing Riley Leonard, the quarterback, and also RJ Oben from Montclair, New Jersey, 6'4", 260 pounds from St. Peter's in the Garden State. And Tim, I said this last week about Oben. It just makes so much sense for him to go to Notre Dame. I mean, when you read that his father currently serves as the NFL vice president of football development, to me, that just screams 4 for 40 is a big deal kind of thing. And that, like, I could see this guy really wanting to go from Duke to Notre Dame. So yeah, RJ Oben, Javante Jean-Baptiste replacement. Tim, are you pretty fired up about this commitment?
Yeah, you want to talk about it, just plug and play right there, right? You lose a heck of a DN, transfers in from Ohio State for a season. Baptiste was everything you asked for. I mean, seriously, he was unbelievable this year. The reps he gave, the actual presence on that wide side edge, he was outstanding all season long. And you're basically almost getting a clone of JJB. Just boom, putting him in for a 6-year, a guy that's played a ton of football at Duke. And he's out coming from a heck of a defensive head coach the last 2 years, obviously, with Mike Elko there at Duke going to A&M. So, no, this is awesome. There's tons of whispers out there. So many schools, obviously, calling him, where he's going to visit, all of those types of things. And for Notre Dame to lock it up and come here for 1 year and provide them an instant starter who's going to provide great depth, because they got a lot of young defensive ends. So this is a big win for Notre Dame.
Yeah. And looking at his stats, Tim, not super productive just on numbers. 17 tackles. That's not a crazy amount for someone who looks like he played the entire season. 6 tackles for loss is solid. 5 sacks is solid. Not a ton of tackles. 6 quarterback hurries and knocked down a pass. But does that concern you at all looking at the numbers?
Stats are stats. You just never know. I mean, there's so many running quarterbacks, which is, unless you sit there and study Duke, which I have not broken down all 12 of their snaps this year. It's, it is what it is. There's so many responsibilities that go into a football player. He's one of 11. It's hard to say, because obviously we're stat driven, like, oh, what's his stats? I mean, Howard Cross, with 1 sack and a couple TFLs this year. Most of his stuff came against Duke, and he's second-team All-American on everyone. So, it is what it is. But you watch him play, his physical presence on the edge, it's outstanding. It's outstanding. And that's the other thing. Sometimes sacks, to me, it's more about hurries, the pressures, because sacks happen when a lot of times the quarterback just holds the damn ball, because so many of these offenses are just quick release. That's when you get a lot of your sacks and whatnot. But he's outstanding in the film I've watched on him. He is a physical presence that will bring it.
Yeah. My other question for you was Notre Dame getting, let's talk about last year, right? Javante Jean-Baptiste.
Yep.
And Thomas Harper, right? Your big end and your nickel. Does it concern you at all that Notre Dame is doing the same exact thing this year? You're replacing those 2 positions again, like for like. JJB to Oben, and then Harper to Jordan Clark. I know we've talked so much about the 1-year rental thing with quarterback, but I don't know. With this, is it kind of like, do you think like they're not recruiting well for these spots, or I don't know, maybe the nickel thing is just so specialized where you're recruiting corners to be like outside corners, but like, are you recruiting just a nickel? Or if you are, that guy too young? Like, maybe a nickel thing might be better for 1-year rentals, kind of like a kicker, if that makes sense.
No,
like,
well, I mean, a nickel is basically your rover. I mean, it's basically an outside linebacker. He's on the slot. He's down in the box. He's the guy you're sending fires on off the edges. Harper, brought it a ton. Bracy blitzed a lot. It's that old Sam linebacker, whatever you want to call it, back in the heyday. The drop backer. It's that same exact position of playing that wide side slot, and that's what that is. You could say, well, you could play Mickey there. Well, maybe Mickey's not good at it. Maybe
Yeah.
Mickey's not good at forcing. We'll play Christian Gray. It's not just like plugging a corner at that spot. That is a tough position.
Yeah.
Basically a hybrid outside linebacker that's got, look at, Owusu Koromora. That's what it was. One of my favorites of all time is Rocky Boyman. Back in the day, played the drop back or the Sam, whatever it was called back at Notre Dame in those days. Goolsby could talk about that because he played with them. But that was his specialty too. He's over the tight end. He's on the slot. He's dropped. He's on the line of scrimmage. He's back and playing linebacker depth. That's a tough one. But the D end, man, Mike, it just goes back to there are certain positions Notre Dame is not stacked talent at. Safety, wide receiver in the D end position, and they're still feels like they're trying to replenish those guys. Just a couple of years ago with when Freeman's first class is Tyson Ford. Well, is Tyson Ford a strong side pass rushing end, or is he a 3-tech? The other D end that year was Aiden Gobira, who was out this year. So is he going to be back? And then is Heinisch. The next year, they've had to move Burnham and Tuihalamaka down to D line already. So it seems like there's bodies, but are they presence type guys, edge type dudes? And that same thing with Brennan Vernon. Is he an inside guy? Is he twitchy enough to play the 5-tech, that wide side C gap? Those are some tough questions. And I think Freeman has just been like, until one of these guys steps up, man, we need a guy that we could trust. And you got Baptiste and the Duke guy coming in.
Yeah, you mentioned Vernon. We both love Brendan Vernon, but I feel like some of these guys are just kind of even eating their way into 3-techs. Like like Riley Mills came to Notre Dame, was like, you're right, you're a 5-tech, 3-tech, right? I mean, that's kind of how it goes, right? You come in to be a Viper, and then where do you end up? Strong side end. Or you come in as a strong side end, you end up at 3. If you come in as a 3, you eat your way into a nose. Like,
well, that's the same thing with offensive tackle. Everyone's like, well, Charles Jagusah is just going to be a guard. Well, how many guards, are going to be at Notre Dame? 6, 16? I mean, they got stacked. Everyone, you're just a guard. Well, you can't play 19 guards. So you got to have tackles eventually. Same thing with defensive ends. You got to eventually have Tyson Ford signed. It was like, oh my God, he's a top 100 edge guy. Hasn't been the case. And before that, there were just, 2021 defensive line is oh my God, who is it? It's the guy, the St. Louis guy, but he's an inside guy. Oh my God, Rubio. Yeah, I'm just thinking of defensive lineman, Rubio. Ford. 2020, I don't think they had any DNs in that class, just trying to think off the top of my head. So there's been some years where they're still trying to play catch up, I feel like, at defensive end when it comes to players.
Okay.
Is Gobira, Vernon, Josh Burnham, Tuihalamaka played there. They're more Vipers, but is Burnham going to bulk up and be a strong side end? But if you get a dude that's coming back for 6 years that's got NFL potential, you got to take it. You got to take it.